Hi everyone, welcome to the Car Chat podcast. And with me today, I have Scott Chivers. Hello.
Hello. AKA Ratarossa,
AKA
yeah?
Ratarossa Scott, and then apparently it's been shortened. Is that right?
It is, yeah. It's now Rata. Rata, go and fix this car. Go and save this car. Yeah, this one's for you.
So, can you give the audience a little bit of a summary, kind of like who you are, what you do?
Okay, so yeah, no problem. I now have a YouTube channel. Somehow I got into the YouTube space, following a passion I have for cars, mainly Ferraris. Fortunate enough to own a few, and I guess we'll go into the story behind that a little later on. But yeah, I run a YouTube channel full time now for my sins.
Nice. I think I first came across you a while ago. I had a few people being like, "You've got to get Ratarossa on. You've got to get Ratarossa on." I was like, "Who the hell is this person?"
Cool.
And then did a bit of Googling, looked up.
What kind of crazy person goes by the name Ratarossa?
yeah, exactly. And then I came across one of your cars, which I think is probably the part of the bit of the story. But okay, let's sort of wind it back a little bit. How did you get into Ferraris, into this? How have you ended up as a making videos on YouTube? What have you done before this, and where did this all start up?
Okay, so firstly, before this, I was in IT for many years. It was okay. It afforded me some of my cars, nice lifestyle, but I was mind-numbingly bored doing that, and I thought, you know what, life is short. You only get one chance at it. I don't want to wake up every day doing this. So it took me a long time to realize that my passion in life is actually, it was just staring me in the face. It's cars. Yeah. And, like I say, fortunate enough to own a few cars, always been tinkering with them. The passion for Ferrari really started when I was knee high, and, my dad would always talk to me about the Ferrari Dino and the shape, and, obviously the noise these things make, and living in the area, he would often take me to Maranello and Egham at a weekend. Would pull up, and I've always said, if you took a swab of DNA off the windows at Maranello, you will find my little 6-year-old nose like print and hands on the window there, staring in at the weekend. So I was very fortunate quite early on to be able to afford Ferrari, and saved up a lot of money. It didn't actually, my kind of sports car, supercar thing didn't start with Ferrari. I couldn't afford a Ferrari to start with. I had started with some classic Porsches, sold those and managed to fund the first Ferrari. I know you have a classic Porsche. We'll talk about those in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then really, I had those while I was in IT. And the transition from that, like I say, was just didn't enjoy it anymore. Thought I wanted to do something that I have a passion for. I had a Ferrari Testarossa, and I discovered, I was looking for a part in the engine bay. And as you do, you had a little Google search, and it was literally some heat shielding for the engine lid on my Testarossa at the time. And somehow from that, what looked like a kit car Ferrari Testarossa that someone had chopped the roof off appeared on a kit car forum in America, a Lamborghini kit car forum as well. And I looked at it, I thought, yep, kit car. So yeah, it's one of those Fiero kit cars. And then I looked and I was like, actually, that's bloody real, right? And at the time, Testarossas had kind of started to really go up in value. And this was a 3-year-old advert. Sent a guy a message, said, look, do you have this car still? Didn't get a reply. He had a phone number, so I sent him a text. He's like, yeah, it's in the back of the garage. Still got it. I said, would you be interested in selling it? And he was like, yeah, okay, why not? So we negotiated a price, and basically the price to get it to the UK, it was a complete car, but it was like a Flintstones car. So it was a shell and 2 massive crates of parts with it. But the price with all the import tax, all the shipping, was £16,000. And to get a second-hand engine or a second-hand gearbox on the Testarossa was that alone. So, it was, I think at the time on eBay there was a second-hand gearbox for 18,000. So
Yeah.
I'm like, well, this is a no-brainer. There's always a plan B. But anyway, it turned up, and I bought it on pictures alone, and I looked at it and I thought, well, yeah, this is to put this right. Number one, if you're a Ferrari purist and someone's chopped the roof off, you've killed it already. To put it right financially, it would be way more than the best Testarossa out there. So I thought, you know what? Let's just have some fun with this.
Yeah.
So I bolted it back together, and I thought, you know what? I quite like it like that. It's, it's still in primer, and there were bits that came in. I strangely had 2 wing mirrors from one side. There was 2 bits. So I think it was just a pile of stuff that this guy had bought over the years to put this car together. So there's 2 mirrors. There were 2 lots of the side slats for one side, but all the others were missing. And these ones were in red. And as I sourced the missing bits from various places around the world, they all turned up in red. And I started putting them on the car. I'm like, I quite like the look of that. So that's how it became, and that's how it is to this day. So it's a bit of a Marmite car, that one. You either get what I've done with it, or you absolutely hate me for, crucifying the Ferrari brand. But so that then led on to, I'd got out of IT. I was in my garage over a winter, just thought, I'm going to take some time out, tinker with this car, figure out what I want to do. And I was spending quite a lot of time in there, just putting this thing together, having a bit of fun. I thought, you know what? I wonder if anyone would be interested in the story on this. So I wrote to a few magazines. I wrote to a couple of YouTubers, and everyone said, yeah, we would love it. One of those people, which I believe you'd done a podcast with, was Matt Farah.
Yeah.
So Matt flew over from the US. He filmed a one take and did a drive review on the Ratarossa and also my Challenge Stradale. And then I'm there. It was a great laugh, and it literally is. He's fantastic at what he does. It literally is a 15-minute, rolls the camera. There was no prep. I'd never done anything like this before. It was basically camera on the screen, press record. Okay, we're going. And I'm like, whoa, all right. So we did it. And extremely daunting, but yeah, it was probably one of the funniest moments still to this day that I've done on YouTube, is with that car. Just prior to Matt kind of flying over, I was frantically trying to do the last bits on it, and because the roof had been chopped off on the Rat, it had some structural bars put into it, which kind of set the weight distribution way off on the car. So when I put it all together, the front end was sticking up like this. It looked like it was going to take off. So I had to put some coilover suspension on the front of the car. So I'd wound it down, and I hadn't quite got it right. So it was bouncing off the tyres. It was like, it was stinking, because every time you went over a bump, the tyres would just grind. So we're in the middle of this one take down a road, a really nice long road here, but it's got a lot of bumps in it. And at that point, Matt was saying to me about the suspension. I said, well, I've been tweaking it, and it's almost there now. And we hit this bump, and it's bottoming out, grinding all over the place. And you just couldn't have planned it better. Right? I was like, I haven't clearly got it quite right yet. So Matt did the one take with me, and I stupidly and naively thought, you know what? This looks really easy. I'm just going to set up a camera and just film myself doing what I do with these cars, tinkering. And, you learn quickly that is not the case. So, I did it. I learned how to edit, and I just did what I enjoy and filmed doing it. So that's how YouTube started for me. Yeah, and that was just over a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that video now. We've got it up of you and Matt cruising around. So you got this car through the mail in bits, essentially, or shell with some bits. How on earth did you put that all together? Have you had some sort of, have you been mechanicking for a while, or are there a lot of good YouTube videos?
I have absolutely no, this is a good question. I get asked this a lot, and I probably need to cover it in a video myself. I have got no technical background at all. My job in IT actually was, you know, it was a technical thing with computers, but nothing to do with cars. I'm quite fortunate is I can see these things and normally kind of put them together. But yeah, that it was like a massive Meccano set, let's say that. Yeah, it's just like these two massive crates of parts. Ferrari parts diagrams are actually very, very good. So I can look at those and normally go, okay, that's that, and that. So before the car, it takes about a month to get a car from America, you know, while it's being shipped over. By the time it had landed on UK shores, I'd basically figured out, because I got the guy to lay everything out on his big driveway in California, take a load of pictures. So I'd more or less worked out where everything went. But I was also quite fortunate is I still had my 1990 Testarossa. So I used it as a blueprint, figured out where everything went, got to a point where I was really happy that I knew it all. And then I flogged the red Ferrari Testarossa.
Nice.
And that was it, really. Yeah, I mean,
that's impressive.
I like the test. I like that car, but it was once I built the Rat, I was like, do you know what? I've got a lot more passion in this car. This is much more fun than a bog standard Testarossa. A funny thing is, I went to the final Ferrari Challenge race event at Silverstone just before we went into this whole lockdown scenario. Yeah. And I went with another YouTuber, JM, and Ferrari were hosting it. They took us round and you know, kindly gave us access to all areas. And the head of PR for Ferrari UK, he's like, "Oh, James said you have a few Ferraris yourself." I said, "Oh yeah, I've got a few. I've, you know, always been passionate about them since this high." He's like, "Oh, what have you got?" I was like, "This. What did you bring today?" And I kind of opened up my top and I had the Ratarossa picture. He's like, that fucking car. He goes, I know that car. He goes, I've seen that in the magazines. He goes, I can't believe you bought it today. He goes, yesterday the electric 308, that tried to turn up and we had to turn it away because it's not with the whole Ferrari ethos. And I was like, oh no, God, he's going to hate me for this. He goes, well, where is it? Well, it's parked outside the paddocks with all the other Ferraris. You go, all right, come on, let's go and have a look at it. So we walk outside. They got their 6 Ferrari press cars, and then there's like 200 of these pristine customer cars lined up outside the paddocks. And as we walk out, I'm like, oh no, there's the massive crowd around my car. So luckily he saw the funny side of it, and he's like, look, you know, I created this car and it's kind of a recycled Ferrari. Everything from that car, for example, all the leather roof lining where the roof was cut off, I had it all in these crates that turn up with the car, and I reused that to recover parts of the car that, you know, because it's a Spide, it was slightly different. So it is all genuine. The only difference on that car, because I needed to do it, was put coilover springs on the front of the car to be able to make it look like it wasn't going to take off. So yeah, it's a strange car. It divides people. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, you sound like a through and through Ferrari enthusiast. You know, we've got Ferrari on the wall behind you. You're drinking from a Ferrari mug. Like, as a Ferrari enthusiast, because to me, the idea of something like your project, okay, I haven't seen it in the flesh, so I don't know, but I like the idea of it. I think it sounds like a cool thing to do. Why not?
Which
I
one?
love the idea.
Ratarossa?
Yeah. Sorry, one of many projects.
A few of them.
And like the idea of modifying cars to suit your own need or want or whatever, I'm all about that. Like, the people that sit there and go, no, they should all whatever 3,000 that were made need to be identical and red and all the same. Like, that's a bit boring.
I think the British are a bit more like that. We're very much, it has to be perfect, it has to be pure, it has to be as it came out of the factory. Whereas I think a lot of my US audience, they are more into modifying to a certain degree. Ferraris, it's become a little bit more and more accepted. Porsche, for example, you know, you could modify Porsches and that's perfectly acceptable. Ferraris have always been very tricky to do that and get away with it. But yeah.
You brought up something that I thought was interesting. This is actually the first thing I noticed about your channel when I watched a video, whenever it was, ages ago. You tailor your channel to America. Would you say you do that?
I would say I try to do both, yeah. Just try and stay middle ground. One of the reasons was when I started my channel, obviously, I got a little bit of a boost because I'd done the smoking tire thing with Matt. So my initial audience were predominantly US based.
Yeah.
And then a strange thing happened actually with my channel. So my first kind of videos were I was working on my car and I was just videoing certain parts of it, like servicing parts. And one of the videos that I did was how to do a cam belt service, DIY cam belt service on a Ferrari 360, which is relatively easy. I had needed to do it, so I thought I'd film it. So I did it, and I did it step by step, and basically your grandma could do a 360 service if she followed my video. And so not long after that, a friend of mine, Sam Crack, I don't know if you know Sam Crack's channel, very popular. He had a green 360 Spider that was just basically went viral, the video. And it was a friend of mine shared with me a link from Unilad on Facebook and said, oh, have you seen this green 360 Spider? This guy has bought from Copart in the US and is trying to fix up. I was like, okay, yeah. Didn't actually watch the video. I mean, and it had done like 20 million views by the time it was on my radar. And then a few weeks later, I got a message via, I think it was Instagram, from Sam saying, I've got this green 360 Spider. I'm having a few problems with it. Can you give me some pointers? And I'm like, I recognise that guy. And I was like, hang on a minute. So I started chatting to him, and I was like, look, sorry, I know about the car, but I haven't watched any of your videos. And he couldn't believe it, right? So I said, look, give me a couple of hours. I'll get up to speed with what you've done, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
So I had a look, and I saw that he'd done a few things. So I gave him some pointers, and I filmed like a 2-minute clip of me telling him some of the things that he needs to check on his car. And one thing led to another. That video for him did very well. I think it was like 1 million views or something like that. I kept in touch with him. We went through the process. We got the car running, literally talking to him every day. And eventually he was like, do you want to fly out to, would you mind flying out to Florida and helping me on this car? Oh, yeah, all right. I think it was November time. I was like, yeah, it's a bit cold here. Florida weather looks good. So flew out to that. We filmed a couple of things. There was something else we actually filmed. So this was November before lockdown. I actually flew out there to film another Ferrari with him, which we haven't been able to finish because of the whole travel ban and situation at the moment. So that's something that is going to happen. But anyway, he became best friend, and because of the videos with Sam, that also pushed my channel. And again, it was mainly US audience. So I try to, they struggle sometimes with some of our UK and our wording. So I try to keep it, so they can all understand.
A bit more palatable. But I noticed you, because all the figures you quote, I don't know whether you do this in all videos, a lot of the times you just do it in dollars. Yeah.
The reason behind that, for example, one of the first projects I did was a Ferrari 456 that had come from the US. It was a US car, and the numbers just look better as dollars. So it was a $19,000 Ferrari or something like that. It just made more sense, and my audience at the time. So yeah, and the fact that actually one of the first videos was Sam in my video as well, so talking about that car and various points of it.
Do you upload with a VPN via the States, or do you just upload like normally in the UK?
Just UK, yeah.
Yeah, because I know when people generally go and do stuff in the States, like UK YouTubers go and do stuff in the States, uploading in the States and being in, it's obviously a combination of all of the factors of being there, but also uploading there and all of that. It generally gives them a boost in their channels. And I've always wondered if you just this is the thing about your channel. I'd wondered if you'd solely like VPN'd and uploaded in the States and kind of just pretended you were in the States the entire time, even though the cars
If I'm totally honest, Sam, it was more for sponsors. Yeah,
okay.
Because YouTube attracts more US sponsors. So I'm quite fortunate in that my audience is a very healthy split between my top two are US and UK, and then the rest of Europe and Canada and stuff like that. So yeah, that was the main reason behind it.
Yeah, how do you find that whole process of working with sponsors and trying to get them into videos? Is it an easy one or kind of tricky?
Again, it was a whole new learning curve with all of that side of things. I actually find it quite easy. I'm very lucky because Sam became my mentor really and talked me through this process, what to look out for, and even kind of put sponsors my way. So yeah, as it goes on, the more and more you do, the easier it becomes. It just becomes a process. There are certain ones that are extremely good fun. I just did one for Manscaped, and
Yeah.
it was hilarious. I would have probably done it free. It was so much fun. So, yeah, there's ones that I love doing, and then I unfortunately have to do it to fund these projects. So that's. But I try to do things that I can integrate within the videos, so it's not just it just is seamless within the video. I try and aim for those kind of things, and try and figure out a way of putting it in. So the Manscaped one, until you're halfway through the Manscaped ad, you don't actually know that it's anything to do with male grooming. I was talking about bodywork, and the lead-in was the bodywork on the car, and then halfway through there's that. Oh my gosh, yeah, he's talking about male grooming.
It's obviously an essential part of the YouTube situation now, just making everything work and all of that. But there's definitely a difference, and I'm sure you know this, that between like people in the UK and what they'll sort of accept in terms of ads versus America. Like America, the videos and the ads people chuck in, they'll be like, and here's my new car. And then they literally will just turn around and it will be something completely different. And they'll be like, buy this video game or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm back. And you're like, what? No.
Yeah. I think viewers do accept that part of YouTube and part of, this is my business. YouTube is my business. So in order to pay my bills each month, YouTube doesn't pay a lot of money unless you are doing videos that are multi-million views each time you're doing it. So unfortunately, we do need to add these integrations in. So I try to pick the ones that are going to be fun to do.
Yeah. So you've had a few projects sort of rolling and going on over the time, and how do you pick the cars, and how have they been? A very simple
answer to that. It's done on passion. It's something I stick to the cars that float my boat. Yeah. So for example, the current one that all my focus really is going on is the 512 BBI, the Boxer.
Yeah.
Now, it was almost a year ago to the day, a couple of days ago, where I discovered that car. Now, the way I discovered it was one of my viewers said, have you heard about this? And the car was very well known on social media. It had done the rounds on Facebook many, many times, but I hadn't seen it. And I was like, wow. I thought it was a 308 to start with. That's a Boxer. And then I did some investigation and found out where the car was. And actually, if you look at Google Maps over the years, you can see that car deteriorating. So I was like, wow. Anyway, completely outside my comfort zone. managed to go and see the car. Had nothing there to say I was going to film it or anything like it. It was on a whim. Took one of my Ferraris down there just to show, I'm not just an oink going there to look at it. I was, going to just actually see what I could do with the car. Filmed it, had a chat with the guy, but he point blank said, I'm never going to sell that car. Never going to sell it. Had people turn up with cash. Never was interested in doing it. And it took me... But I left the video. It was a little bit sour leaving the video to say, look, I can't save this car. No matter what, the guy is not going to sell it. And it was a bit of an anticlimax. But I said to my audience, look, I promise you I'll do my best to do what I can with this. I would love to save that. I just cannot stomach the fact that that car is just going to rot away on the driveway. So it took me 6 months, but I managed to finally do it. And, one thing led to another. I looked at the car and I was like, okay, we'll get it running. We'll just give it a service. We'll get it running. We'll give it a glorified clean up and then we'll just use it. And somehow that's become a nut and bolt restoration. Which has taken a lot of time and a lot of effort. So, but I am enjoying it. So currently at the moment, I am trying to focus on that car because as I've said before, so many of these projects, if you don't keep on top of them, you get to so many hurdles on these things. It's so easy just to park it aside and think, I'll come back to that in 2 weeks' time. And then 2 years go by and you haven't done it. So I'm really, really trying with this one to see it right through to the end. And I'm enjoying the process, definitely.
Yeah, and cause a lot of people, they'll have a project. It might even the guy that you bought it off. He's like, oh, I bought it. At some point in time, I might do it up. I don't know whether this was the story. And then you start doing it. You hit a problem. You're like, oh, I can't do that. And then you start another project, and you end up with like 5 projects, of which only one is kind of the ongoing rolling one, and they're all stopped in the middle.
Well, I am a little bit guilty of that. I've got a 308 on the driveway and various other things. In fact, I own 6 Ferraris and none of them are roadworthy at the moment. So I'm very guilty of that. The funny thing with the BBI is that the guy bought the car in 2006. He drove it for about a year. It's got 6,400 miles on it. And at the time, there's paperwork from very well renowned Ferrari specialists here in the UK to say that it was the best example of a BBI at that time in the UK, if not the world. And then simply from using it for a few months and then parking it up and not moving it for over 12 years, it is what it is now.
It's mad.
It's very unfortunate, but it can be saved, and I am saving it.
I saw a video of you recently, and this was I'd seen another video using the same stuff, and I wonder if this is how you came about the idea. Ice blasting the engine. Now, anyone that's not come across ice blasting, go and Google some ice blasting. Go and watch Scott's video doing his engine. There's loads of other videos of people doing various parts of cars. This is seems like a magic process.
When I started the BBI, I was totally unaware of ice blasting as well. I hadn't heard of it. The project started to progress and take on its own path, and part of that is obviously when I saved the car, when I finally got it, what I promised everybody was, look, you're all going to be part of this process with me. We are going to go on this adventure and see where we can get with this car. And so that's why all of these videos, I'm trying to share that whole process and the full restoration of this car. And so a lot of it is driven by my audience and their comments. And I noticed that when we opened that engine lid and it was covered with, 13, 14 years of just British weather's grime of summers and then winters, and on the Ferrari engine lid you've got all the slats, so everything just goes through and just sat on the top of the engine block. They all said there are these ice blasting videos, and it's basically this magic thing that will make your engine look like it was brand new from factory. So I'm like, let's do that. And the added bonus with it is that it doesn't cause any mess. unlike sandblasting or bead blasting, it's not going to get into all the pores and work its way inside the engine. It is just dry ice. So I'm like, well, I'll give that a go. And then did a bit of research. There is a few companies in the US that are doing it in the automotive scene, but there was no one in the UK. So the only people I could find were Karcher that actually make a dry ice product. So I was like, okay. So I emailed the CEO of Karcher, and I got an email back, surprisingly. He said, yep, seen your videos. We'll send our guys and help you out. So nice. That's how that became. Well, there was a slight deviation to that, because normally, and that's why the car is not currently at my house, is that filming here in my little car garage is quite difficult, because I can't make too much noise. I'm, in a residential neighborhood. And I said to the guy, just before we go down that route, can you just tell me how loud one of these things is? And he's like, well, we need an industrial compressor to run this. Whoa. I said, that's going to get shut down in about 2 or 3 minutes if we start filming that at my house, right? So let me see if I can figure out a solution. So I spoke to a friend who's got a carrozzeria body shop in Maidenhead, and he said, look, get the car here. We can do the dry ice in here, and then we can do, the paintwork on the car when we get to that stage. So that's how we've got to where we are at the moment. Yeah, it's just like this journey. Yeah, they just ups and downs of it, and yeah, the car is now over there at the moment, and it's quite fortunate because it has a lift, and it makes my job a lot easier than trying to do it in a little garage.
Yeah, that is quite nice. The actual process of dry ice blasting, does it remove any metal?
So that car was the problem with my car was it is the absolute extreme, because it had sat there for so long and all this stuff had just kind of embedded itself in that engine block. Normally, if you look at some other videos on dry ice, there's a few popular ones with Porsches. Actually, if you look at, they dry ice blast the bottom of a Porsche that hasn't been cleaned in years and years and years, and it comes up spectacular. Mine, because it had literally sat there and it was just so extreme, it did a great job, but it wasn't as amazing as all my comments had told me it was going to be. So I had to take it an extra step. But the process itself is literally 3mm dry ice little pellets. It's fired at high speed to whatever surface it is. So in my case, it was the engine, and mainly I tried to focus on the engine block. And it just disintegrates on impact, taking with it all of the grime and all of the dirt that's there, and then it just evaporates.
That's pretty sick.
It's great because it hardly makes any mess. If you think about sandblasting and you blast a load of sand, you've got a massive cleanup job, and that's going to get itself everywhere. This stuff, I was literally flabbergasted. Where's it all gone? It was little tiny. It took me 2 minutes to sweep it all up after, and that was just some of the dirt that was on my engine.
Yeah, I saw one video. It was it's that detailing guy who's friends with Matt Farah in the States. Ammo.
Larry.
Whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Larry, yeah. He did, I can't remember what it was, the bottom of a car. And then his entire workshop was just coated, not in the stuff, obviously, because that disappears, but just like all the dirt literally just flew everywhere in his entire place. Just coated everything.
Yeah. I don't know what happened with Larry and his. Mine was lovely. I mean, he has a very, very nice workshop, that you could probably eat your dinner off the floor there. So you're far more likely to see all the dirt. But, I mean, there were two differences between those two dry ice blasting experiences.
Yeah.
But my most popular video was with Larry, actually, on the cleanup of the Boxer. Now, again, it was my audience that drove it. It was like, look, I've got this car. We need to clean it up. And they're like, you need Ammo. He's the best in the world. He can clean it up for you. It's going to be mint afterwards. And I'm like, okay, let's see. And then I got in touch with Larry, and It was like, yeah, let's do something. And then we had this problem called COVID and travel restrictions. So Larry was going to fly over. We were going to clean up the car together, and that would have been brilliant. But then we had this issue of like, we can't actually get you here from New York. What are we going to do? We've told everyone we're going to do this collaboration and clean up the Boxer. So we then had to figure out how we get ammo to clean the car without him being there. So we actually managed to figure out where he talked me through everything I need to do on this car. And we did actually transform it. It came out amazing. He sent me all his products. We used all of those, which are fantastic. And they smell great as well. And then, we did transform the car. And then sadly, I was like, well, I need to take the engine out to do the service. And that led to, there's a little bit of surface rust on the frame. And now we're doing a nut and bolt restoration on the car.
Is the aim with some of these builds to, take in this thing that's like an absolute bomb site, looks like it's just been destroyed, document the journey?
Are you talking about my cars here, Sam?
Is the final goal to sell the cars, or undecided, depending on how much you like them?
I have a slight problem. I hate selling my cars. I like them too much. So the Boxer, when it became available, that the guy was like, look, I've decided to sell it. And he when most people decide to sell a car, they want to sell it quickly. So he's like, I will give you first offer on it. We managed to negotiate a deal, but I didn't have the funds to actually do it. So I was fortunate that I had a 355 Spider. It was very, very good condition. It was probably one of the best I've seen. And I managed to sell it within 24 hours at the end of November, which is unheard of. I'd sold it quite cheap, but it part funded the Boxer. But when I buy these cars with the Boxer, for example, it's from passion. I want to save that car. I'm a sucker for these neglected, poor cars that have been, left on a driveway and just not looked after. I love that. I love making these things better and improving them. So I don't buy them to fix them up and make a profit. It's purely from passion. With the 355, I had bought that. There's a story behind that one. I'll tell you that in a second. But that was actually too pristine for me. So I found I wasn't enjoying driving it. Whereas like the Challenge Stradale, actually built the Challenge Stradale. So there's a lot of me in these cars. I know them inside out. I put them together. It took me months to source parts for these things. And so there's a lot of enjoyment that I can draw back on that I've put into those cars with many, many hours. So the plan with the builds is never to really sell them at the end and flip them for a profit. It's just unfortunately I don't have the space to put them all.
Well, that's it. Like, if you keep going, there's going to be cars that get finished and more builds coming in. You've still only got 2 garage slots. A problem for the future.
The 355, going back to the 355. So the 355 thing was a bit of a strange one because I actually bought 6 Ferraris at the same time from America and shipped them over.
Okay.
So this was before I started the YouTube channel. So the plan was I got out of IT and I thought, I love Ferraris and I a passion for cars. Let's just do a bit of Ferrari trading. So I thought, okay, I'd done a few from Europe. I'd bought a 430 Scuderia and various things like that, and sold those and made a little bit of a profit on them. And I was like, I enjoy this. So what should we do? Let's buy 6 Ferraris from America because they were cheap over there, and even with import and shipping, they were still a damn sight cheaper than they were in the UK. So I'd gone down that route, and then I had a couple of these cars. And I was, I didn't actually like selling them. I figured that there was a chink in my plan. I loved buying them and I liked fixing them and doing that. I didn't quite enjoy selling them. So I thought, how can we do this instead? And that became part of the YouTube channel. It was like, all right, let's film it and figure it out that way. So another avenue that changed slightly from my original plan.
No, it's a cool thing to be doing, and I can see how if you've invested so much time and effort and thought and all of that stuff into these cars that you have a huge passion for, that getting rid of them is tricky. I am awful at selling cars, and I have not put anywhere near the amount of hours into them that you have. You just get attached, don't you?
Well, you actually, for my audience that will watch this, you have a very, very cool car collection. It's very well known that my ultimate car is obviously an F40. I would love to build one of those on the channel. I did one of my first videos that went through 1 million views was an F40, basically an F40 treasure hunt that happened when we went into the whole world went into this first lockdown. There was this lost F40 in Iraq that was quite well known, and I thought, you know what, let's try and find this F40 in the desert. And one thing led to another, and I had Gas Monkey Garage involved, and that was a great one. But yeah, it was then quite well known that I would love to do an F40, and obviously they're very expensive cars. So you own an F40, and we'll go out in that car at some point, Sam. Yeah,
we can go out in that car at some point if I've still got it.
How long have you owned that one?
5 years.
5 years. So that was 2016. I tried to buy one about 2014. It's one of my biggest regrets. I was trying to buy one in Europe. I just sold my 430 Scuderia. There was one for sale in Belgium, and it worked out. It was just over 200 grand.
Ooh, and that would have been a good buy.
It didn't happen. Yeah. Well, various personal reasons why I didn't buy that in the end, but I kick myself to this day. So I will promise everybody that at some point we will do an F40 on the channel in some capacity.
Yeah. It's a build,
a garage build.
Yeah, you can't beat yourself up too much about these things, though, can you? You look at them, and at the time, you're like, no. You make the decision at the time. And I'm happy with all the decisions I've made, because this is where we are. Yeah. But you do look at some of these things and go, ooh, okay, if I'd bought an F40 for 200 and a Carrera GT for 200, you're like, oh, that would have been great.
Yeah, there was a Carrera GT, I think it was 180 or something at the time. And what was the other? So your car didn't actually start off as a blue car, did it? When you bought it, it was a white kitted car, is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. To some extent. It was done by Liberty Walk. Yeah. You posted a picture of it recently.
I did not realise that until earlier yesterday that was your car. So tell me, where is that kit, Sam?
It's gone. I don't know where it is.
No! That's what I want. I want that kit. Yeah, I'm going to build an F40. That's what I'm going to do.
Unfortunately, I have no idea. It went in as part of the deal. But I bought that car, which was pretty sort of like, well, no one really wanted it at the time. And my car went back to Zanassi in Italy and got made back to original, painted blue because I didn't want a red Ferrari, and if I wanted a red Ferrari I would have bought a red one, and was like, well, this is not red, so if I make it blue I'm not turning a red one blue. And there was part of me that was like, I'm not quite up for the painting a red one a different color, but it's got the weave.
You justified it that way with with the fact that it started as a Liberty Walk white one. Funny enough, actually, I think I own 6 Ferraris and none of them are red. I did the red thing when I was younger. I had lots of red Ferraris, and then I grew up, I like to say, and now I don't have a red Ferrari.
It's just, I think it's one of those things. Like it's part of the whole. I'm not the person that's going to be wearing a Ferrari cap. I'm not going to be wearing Ferrari shoes. None of that stuff.
No, I'm not like that. I'm not like that either.
I can't. Your video at the moment is cut out, but like, so I can't see what you're doing.
Sorry, you guys will be able to see that. I was holding up a mug, and I'm holding up some Puma Ferrari trainers from my sponsor. So we're focused on the BBI build at the moment, and then I've got another really cool build that is a little bit kind of. I'm not gonna disclose what it is, but it's going to be a very, very cool Ferrari build.
Okay, right. I've got a quick question. When are you announcing this build?
I want to really get a little bit further into the BBI.
Okay,
putting it
not
back
for a while
together.
then.
I would say, well, Yeah, in my head, I'm thinking the BBI build's another 6 to 8 weeks to finish it, but in reality, these things, don't quite pan out that way. So I just at the moment I'm trying to get the BBI to a point where it's sprayed, the frame is sprayed. I've got people such as Coney who have rebuilt all of the original shocks. It's going to be fantastic, this car. We've just done all of the suspension. We've replated that in the yellow zinc plating. So that on the black original frame, it's just going to pop and it's just going to look amazing, this car. So once I'm starting to put some of that together, I will announce the next build, which is going to be a pretty cool one. And then there's another couple other ones that I've been trying to put together in the pipeline. One of them, which is again similar to something you had, it is my early Porsche.
Yes.
So I've got a 1970 911T that most people think I'm just a Ferrari purist through and through, but no, I like all kinds of cars. Classic 911s is definitely one of my things. And I've been fortunate to own a few of those as well. And I managed to buy my current one just before the air-cooled 911 bubble just went crazy.
Oh, nice.
But it sat there. It needs a full restoration. So just before this call, I was speaking to a potential sponsor about doing a restoration on that car and probably doing it something similar to yours. Yours is an ST build, is it?
Yeah, it's sort of ST-esque. It's an SC backdated to sort of ST-esque kind of fast road build.
Yeah, mine is actually a 1970 2.2T, so it's old already, and there will be a lot of people I will probably annoy with the build because I'm taking a narrow body original car and I'll probably modify it. And I really toil. I'm quite used to annoying people with my builds, but I toil with that because I do like the originality of things. But I'm then like, I'm going to keep this car. I'm going to build it for me. Yeah. And what do I really like? And it's like, I love that just slightly wider ST look at the back. It gives it a more menacing presence, and I think it just looks lovely. So we'll stick with that. I think that's the idea. But yeah, hopefully that build will be coming up in the next few months.
That's an interesting one. Are you going to do that sort of to kind of spec, or are you going to... Oh, no, because you said you were going to change it. So are you going to upgrade the engine?
I think we'll have some fun with it. I might do. I mean, for me, the bodywork is a thing that I like. The aesthetics of it, I want to look at it. I love the fact that it is a classic 911. It's the cheapest car I've got because it's cheap classic insurance. It's MOT free. It's tax free. And the fact that it sits on a driveway for months, and I just turn that key and it fires up straight away. It's amazing, that car.
Yeah.
I just want to have a bit of fun with it and build something that I will enjoy. It doesn't have to be... I'll take little bits from here and there and change the seats and stuff like that, and parts of the interior. We'll keep some of the classic stuff. I'll just build it to something that I enjoy, that I can use and want to sit in it, and it puts a smile on my face. It's just like the F40 or anything. We buy these things not because they make a lot of money or they're the fastest thing on the road. It's just about the miles per smiles, I like to say.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's funny you're doing a narrow body 911 build to make it wider, and I am about to be in the process of taking my widered 911. I'm not going to make it narrow body, but I'm probably going to sell it and buy an older car because I quite fancy a narrow body.
Well, let's just do a straight swap. Just give me your ST and I'll give you my rotten narrow body. My car actually originally was tangerine, the tangerine orange, and obviously like most 911s in the 80s, it was sprayed Guards red. So currently it will go back to its original factory colour, that's for sure.
That's a cool colour. I like that. Mine's signal yellow. They go well next to each other, those.
Yeah,
I kind of like the idea of less grip. My car's quite grippy at the moment, and it's just I'm moving on. I had to go a passenger
something
ride.
a bit more challenging, yeah.
Exactly, a little bit more loose at low speed. But I had to go.
I think that these cars that they will bite you if you don't respect them. I like that factor. My 360 is kind of a little bit like the F40. You know, it's lightweight, and if you don't respect it and you get a bit too blasé with it, it will tell you and it will show you. And it's spun out on me 3 times in the last 12 years. So you have to respect these things.
It's good, and it's good to learn these lessons. Like the number of people that must be driving around now that probably go and buy a modern supercar, or even just a modern sporty car, like maybe like a BMW M3 or whatever, something like that are driving it on the traction control. Like, as in they're literally, their foot is flat and the car is trying to work the hell how to keep going down the road. And often you then come across, the thing is the systems are getting better, but then it gets wet and someone's like, oh, it was really good with all the stuff on. They turn everything off, and then they just in about 1 second send their car careening off the road.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, you see it quite often, especially on Instagram. I get tagged in loads of these things where someone's got a 488 or something like that, and you know, they're fantastic cars, and anyone can get in a 488 and drive it. But when it gets a little bit wet, it separates the men from the boys sometimes. Yeah, you just go down a motorway and put your foot down, and it will still bite you if you don't know what you're doing. You know, you see these things that they've spun out and they've gone off and they've been smashed up.
Yeah, did you see that video recently? I think it was either a 488 or a Pista. I think it was a 488, a red one that was overtook a car, then put his foot down and ended up in a ditch. But the guy driving the car posted a video later, and he said what happened is the suspension failed at the rear. And you watch the video and you can see as he's like pulling away and putting his foot down, the rear left of the car just like drops.
Wow.
And fair play to the guy who come out and be like, no, this is what happened. Like, everyone's been rinsing
I'm
me.
really not a shit driver. It really was the Ferrari.
Yeah.
No. Poor sod, really, because that would have gone viral, that video, and they would all put it down to driverability. And
absolutely,
yeah, it's probably one of those rare occasions where
very rare
Ferrari's super duper suspension actually did fail.
But then you have like the complete opposite, which is that 812 driving over the bridge in London. Have you seen that video?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and just hammered it and just fishtailed it. Didn't
See ya.
God. Yeah. I mean, the ones I always get tagged in lately are the F40's on fire. Save this one, Rata. This is the one, yeah.
What?
This is the one. No F40s ever. They all get rebuilt nowadays.
They do. I can't imagine many get sold for scrap, and most have fire suppression systems in them now. Mine doesn't yet.
Yeah.
But every time because people send them to me as well, and I'm like, oh shit, I probably should do something about this.
That's not fun then, is it? Because that's the same as anything else. But that's all the traction aids. You don't need fire on a Ferrari. They never burn down. I've only had 2 that have burnt down.
I don't want to be in a car setting on fire. But my car does get started up and run around pretty often. So I think a lot of these problems are coolant pipes and, you know, hoses and stuff just coming off. And I think the F40 one is literally like jetting hot fuel over the engine or something, as one of the pipes just comes off. Yeah. Sprays it everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that you drive the car, and I love the fact that, you know, it gets used. That is the thing. I'm 100% certain that Ferraris go wrong when they don't get used. My 360, I reckon, I changed the clock on it when we did the conversion on it. I reckon that is done about 70,000 miles, maybe even more. It's on its original clutch. on its original clutch. It's an F1 system. That is absolutely unheard of. I've spoken to dealers, specialists, yeah, they're like, nah, you're lying. There's no way. I drive that car in race mode all the time, apart from when it's absolutely hammering it down.
Yeah.
It has caught me out a couple of times, I do admit that. And it just gets driven. It was my daily driver. I have 2 young daughters at the moment, and so it's a bit more difficult to use it as a daily, but it was for a very long time, driven every single day. When I worked at HP, it was driven all the way up and down the country to customers. Totally enjoyed it. It cost me an absolute fortune in fuel, but I always arrived and got back home with a smile on my face.
Yeah.
But I used it. That's the thing, yeah. And the car was amazing. It just didn't go wrong. You know, it was. And I did a video on it, and I said these are fantastic, and they never go wrong. And then after that, I started having problems.
Yeah, it totally happens. And then there's probably a sweet spot of a certain level of mileage, which means it's been driven a decent amount. And it's made it through, and it's had stuff changed, versus the car that's never been driven. You basically have to replace half the car anyway to drive it. But then the ones like I would say like a high mileage, I don't know, McLaren or something. That's probably the one to buy, because the other ones just haven't been able to get there because they've been in the workshop.
Yeah, absolutely. I had I remember, I think my second Ferrari was the 355, and a lot of what I learned about Ferraris was because of that car, because I remember one weekend something would go wrong on it, and I think the number each time was always an £800 part that would go wrong on this car. So I would spend 800 quid, I'd put it right, I'm like, great, 355 is working great, use it again. Next weekend something else has gone wrong, another £800 part. It's like I spent so much money on that car putting it right. And I was like, I got cheesed off of it in the end. I was like, look, I'm just going to get rid of it. I've had enough of this. Sold it to a guy. He kept it for a year. And I spoke to him. I was like, any problems with it? Fantastic car. Never goes wrong, that 355. I love it. I'm like, bugger.
This is the problem.
I ironed out all the issues with it.
Exactly. Like one of my friends recently was selling a car, and he was selling it because he'd had to do a bunch of work on it. And he was like, it's just, I need to get something else. And I was like, no, but you fixed all of the issues on your car. If you buy another one, you have no idea whether there's going to be any issue. You might have to do the whole process all over again.
Exactly. That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
So, okay. Do you have any passions outside of cars?
Well, I've got to be honest with I was so naive with a YouTube channel, thinking you just film, what the audience see is, typically about a 20-minute video, and you think, well, it's just filmed a 20-minute video and just uploaded it. It takes a heck of a lot more than that to do this, especially as a business, because for example, a recent video, me stripping off the paint off a car, that took me probably the best part of a week to do the majority of the paint. I did all the easy bits, the big areas of the car, the little intricate bits I've still got to do. But if I put that out on a 20-minute video, that's boring as hell. So I do a super fast forward of you seeing most of the panels being stripped down, which is like 2 minutes of a 20-minute video. Yeah. But like I say, it took me the best part of a week to do that solid, hard graft, horrible, dusty, disgusting. You can't see, your eyes are all like pins at the end of the day, and you're like full of crap no matter what you wear mask wise. Yeah. I looked like I'd gone grey. I had so much dust on me. And that's like a 2-minute part of that 20-minute video, and then you've got to make it entertaining. Each of the videos is basically a story, isn't it, that you've got to entertain the audience with. So you do that, then you've got the editing side of things, and I am not the best at editing. It doesn't flow for me. It takes me a little while to piece things together. And then as a business, you've got the marketing side of things, and the the integration with a brand. So yeah, a 9 to 5 job is a part-time job to me. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of hours in the day that go into YouTube. So yeah, aside from that, family really is the other thing.
Yeah, because
there's always a balance. There's always a balance.
Yeah,
Has to be a
and
balance.
it's just like you said, it just takes, especially with the sort of things you're doing, like it takes so long to film, even just like one video. Like you said, you've got to, oh hey, here's me doing this small little cut for you guys, and then like 20 hours of work, and then come back.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. That clip's
don't
done.
get me wrong. I would love to be able to put out 3 videos a week on that car, but yeah, currently it's impossible. It's a lot of work doing this level of restoration that I hadn't planned from the start. It's just progressed this way.
Yeah. What was that? Okay, I only came across this 6 months ago, something like that. Project Binky. You must have watched this. The Mini.
Oh, I have seen a fellow YouTuber that has done a video on that. I don't know what that car is. It's some crazy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I
don't know enough about it. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just some crazy guys building a Mini that they break down into like, I don't know how many episodes. It's a lot of episodes, and it's all like they're all making every single thing they do. They make some stupid jig that takes like 14 million hours, but each bit is just like, a little bit of the build, and they've managed to they broke this car down into just an obscene number of videos. But then also you look at the number of hours, and it's still clearly a lot of time just in each segment of doing it. But it's a good one to watch. That actually, it's quite it's just
I will
like
check that out.
geekery.
Yeah, definitely
on welding and stuff. Throughout all this time, you've picked up, I imagine, a variety of skills and knowledge of putting together cars of all sorts, and specifically Ferraris.
Absolutely, yeah. I am not adverse to trying new things and learning new skills, and there are certain parts on all of these projects, especially the BBI, where I've gone way beyond my typical skill set on these things. It's like there is a need for it. I don't necessarily have the funds to bring the right people in, and part of what I do is to show the audience and give them a sense of they're along for the ride on this, and learn these things with me. I don't claim to be the best welder. I did a course just before lockdown, a 10-week night school course on welding that gave me the basics, and I think that was cut short by 2 weeks because of everything going on in the world. So yeah, I love to learn these new things. There's parts of that Boxer that have come off that I've never done on any car, let alone a very expensive Ferrari. So, but I'm not afraid of that. I quite like that. I like the discovering new things and going into new areas and taking things to new levels. So I've never done a nut and bolt restoration on a car. So I'm enjoying the process. And it's really cool with doing something like this is that you find new people. Someone turned up at the workshop a couple of days ago that has also got a Ferrari Boxer. Used to run a well-known Ferrari garage, a specialist garage, and so you find these new people, and then from those that leads to somebody else. It's like, okay, for example, on that car, like water hoses and things like that. I didn't realise that when this guy is also a concourse judge. When they look at these things, they look at the name on the hosing. So I'm like, wow, I was just going to get some cheap stuff off eBay, but now I've got to spend 10 times as much to get some exactly the same hose with a label on it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's good. I love it. You make a lot of new contacts from things like this from all around the world, and that's one of the parts of YouTube that I really, really enjoy. For example, with the Boxer, I put the videos out, and I then had the person who delivered that car back in 1983 to the prince who first owned it in London. I then had the dealer who had known the car up until the point that the last owner had bought it from them. So the owners of the car knew everything about it. And that's because I put the video out. So it was great to find out, all of the history on that car and where it had been and people who knew it and old pictures that had been in, when it's been to Ferrari owners events and stuff like that. So really, really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool having all of those elements of the history just kind of like pulled in. I get that on if I've bought a car, often multiple times, the first owner will get in touch and go, "Hey, that's my car." You're like, "Oh, cool. Tell me more about it. Like, did you put it in a ditch?"
Yeah. Yeah. Can you explain this? Why is this panel a different colour?
Why does this not shut properly? Have you picked up any kind of like hacks or I don't like that word, but like along the way of like, you're meant to use this stuff. Actually, this stuff is better or the same, but just a different label? Or are you very much like, let's try and find the right Ferrari branded cable for this and bit of plastic and stuff like that?
I am quite resourceful. Okay, so with this current build, obviously it's a 1983 car. Ferrari don't make all, like your F40. If you try to buy parts for your F40, you will probably find that there is, if you're lucky, 20% of parts available for that car that you can buy now. It's the same with mine, So when you're doing a project like this, you have to be able to scour literally the whole world to find bits. So there were a few little bits missing with my car, which I purchased 6 months ago now, and I have literally found those by just constantly looking to find out what's available for Ferrari boxes. I managed to buy, I was looking on eBay the other day, there was a spare wheel for the car, and I don't need a spare wheel, I've got one, but I was missing the spare wheel cover. Now, it didn't say anything on the eBay advert about the spare wheel cover coming with this spare wheel, but I was looking through the pictures and I was like, I nearly peed my pants when I saw this spare wheel cover as part of the thing for a very good price. So I ended up buying this spare wheel just for this little fiberglass panel that sits above it. And I was very happy. I had a day trip with my two daughters for about 2 hours in the car just to go and get this spare wheel. But you just can't get that for love nor money, you know? So eventually things turn up. So yeah, quite resourceful on that. And then the other side of that is I like the challenge. So when people say things can't be done, for example, a Ferrari 355 service, they all said, no, it's impossible. You can't drop the fuel tanks. You have to drop the engine on a 355. And then I was looking at prices in America of some of these service bills that 355 owners get because they have a service. And they were like $20,000. I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. And then they said, no, it can't be done. It can't be done. I was like, right, well, let's do it. So I filmed a step-by-step guide to how you drop the fuel tank on a Ferrari 355 and change the cam belts for like 200 quid, I think it was. Nice. Yeah, so yeah, there's that element of me that is a little bit rebellious that likes to... I'm actually about to do this, and I'm probably going to shoot myself completely in the foot by saying this on this podcast. One of the dilemmas I'm facing at the moment is kind of stopping the progress on the paintwork on the Boxer. Is I'm trying to do it 100% perfectly, which means all the glass has to come out of the car. So that's the front screen, the rear screen. And it's so well bonded in there. The bonding agent they used to put these screens in never goes off. So it's like plasticine. It's always constantly sticky, even though it was put in there, early 80s. Yeah. And so I had a couple of specialists out, and I asked the audience, what do I do? Do I just try and take the trim off and spray around it? But in my heart, that doesn't feel like I'm doing a proper job. So everyone's saying, I leave the screen in, and I'm like, let's take it out. So we're going to try and take it out. So it's going to probably break it, but I'm going to do my utmost to to keep it original and keep the screen intact. So we're going to attempt that Friday.
Oh, well, that would be interesting. That's one of those very. I've always watched.
Yeah.
I occasionally watch like someone a program with someone like redoing a house or whatever, and they'll have just got the new windows that are coming in, and they're like held by like 15 people, and they're just trying to slot them in. You're like, oh, okay, if this goes wrong, that is inexpensive. And I imagine actually the car ones are even worse.
Yeah, there might be a moment on this video where you see me in tears, but we'll see. By the weekend, you'll know.
Well, if the unfortunate bit happens, actually, because is it possible? Is it easy to get windscreens now? Do they custom make them, or are they just available?
I have actually been on to a couple of people this morning. So up until a short while ago, you couldn't get any screens for the Ferrari Boxer. But again, someone kind of came in to my life from the YouTube channel, and they have put me onto a company who make the screens. I've been speaking to those, so I have a backup plan now that they will help me out should I have a
Brilliant
accident with the screen on Friday. So I've got I always try and have a plan B with these things. So
yeah, because you don't want to be left high and dry. You're like, okay, we either take it out, but if it breaks, that's it. We've got to wait 3 years. You're like, oh no, I don't want to do that.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's the thing. So yeah.
No, it sounds pretty interesting, and I'd love to see it at some point. See this build, how it's going on.
And you're totally welcome. It's going to be there for a little while yet, so you can pop in at any stage. And
yeah, I'm definitely keen to come down. I'll take some pictures, whatever. Come say hello. I say this, I have no idea whereabouts, vaguely. Obviously, we don't want to give your exact location away, but like, where roughly are you in the UK?
We're in Berkshire. Yeah, we are, let's say, 30 miles out from London.
Oh, okay. Not far at all. Okay.
Yeah, not far.
We can do something. We'll talk about this offline. All right. Well, I normally wrap these up with 5 questions. Do you have a most memorable driving trip or journey?
Yeah, I would say my favourite, most memorable one is I've done a couple, which is both times Le Mans in the Challenge Rally. Love it. They've got some epic tunnels there. I've got some lovely footage of my car in a tunnel, and if you could bag heaven as a sound, it has to be that. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'll disagree. The F40 must be a close second, let's say. But the Stradale is absolutely epic on full chat in a tunnel, bouncing off the walls. If you don't have a smile on your face listening to that, there is something wrong with you.
Yeah, no, I do look at because at the end of the day, like the 40 is a turbocharged engine. It's a pretty good sounding turbocharged engine, and you get the turbo noises and all that kind of stuff. But it's not the same as an NA engine, and there's nothing quite like that scream, that kind of howl.
It is absolutely. I mean, I've had the car. It's the longest car I've ever owned. It's almost 12 years now, and I absolutely love driving it every time. It hasn't been on the road for a few months, actually. I've got to do some work this weekend on it and try and get it back on because, it's killing me at the moment. I love driving that car.
Right, next question. 5-car garage, unlimited value.
Oh, that's a real tricky one. It definitely has to be an F40.
Yeah.
Maybe an LM, F40 LM. Unlimited, oh man, that is a tricky one. It's a Stradale, Challenge Stradale for sure. Do I have to be practical in this garage?
It has to fit into your life to some extent. Like, you might need a daily.
Do you know what? I had this conversation this morning. I really love the new Defender. I think that looks epic. I love it.
I quite like it.
I might add that in currently. I've driven past a couple and they've turned my head. Probably a classic Porsche. I love a classic Porsche, and it's got 2 back seats.
Which one?
Quite practical. Probably be a 73 RS.
Tasty. And one more.
250 GTO would have to be the other one.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty peak.
Yeah.
And it gets you a V12 in there.
Yeah.
If you could only drive one car for the rest of your life, and you it's kind of 2, but you can only drive one car for the rest of your life, and you get £500 on the side, someone else.
Okay, I think it would have to be my Stradale. It's a fantastic car. It is actually quite usable. I have dailied it. I've proven the point.
Yeah.
And on the side, Some kind of Navara pickup like I've got at the moment, because they are practical. You can just throw everything in the back of them, and bikes, the whole lot, not have to worry about it. It's got a few dents in it, and yeah, it just keeps going. Mine's got 210,000 miles on it now.
Ideal. Keep it rolling. Right. What's the most undervalued car at the moment?
Oh, Ferrari 512 BBI Boxer. They're definitely worth $1 million. I tell you what, those cars are definitely worth a straight swap with an F40.
I've heard that. I've had multiple offers.
Yeah. Don't know what's going on at the moment.
Okay, final.
What car? Really?
No, give me a semi-serious answer.
We'll stick with that one.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. I did have a conversation actually the other day. 550 Barchetta. They only made 349 of them, and they seem to be very good value for money. Last V12 manual Ferrari, proper one. Limited numbers.
What are they now?
With Ferraris and limited numbers, I think you can get them for as low as 200 grand.
That sounds like it's not cheap, but it sounds reasonable for what it is.
It's not cheap, but typically with a limited number Ferrari, there is a massive premium for the manual cars nowadays. V12, it's not that practical in the UK. That's the problem.
No, and I think they have a pretty crappy roof, but pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like V12 Ferrari roof.
Yeah, I think they'll go up in value.
Well, there's two for sale on Car and Classic. One's 279 and one's 349. So they seem to be creeping up.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Maybe creeping up a little bit. Yeah.
Final question. What's the most interesting car to you at the moment? What are you Googling? What are you looking up? Stuff like that.
Oh, well, I'm always looking at F40s or potentials with F40s. Yeah, watch this space. That's all I'm going to say. I will make something happen. An interesting F40 build, is what we're aiming for here. We're going to break YouTube and break the internet if my cunning plan successfully materializes.
Well, it would be very cool.
No, I'm always looking at those things. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. We'll do something.
Sweet. Well, thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much for hosting me. I really enjoyed that.